So Aries compatibility is pretty interesting, and it really doesn't matter kind of which placement. Of course, there are going to be differences depending on which placements we're talking about that are in Aries. But generally speaking, though, if you have two people with one or more major placements that are both in Aries, it is very interesting. And I've seen many couples with Aries placements, specifically couples where both people in the couple are they both may have Sun in Aries. I've definitely noticed that to be a pattern. So why is that? Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is let's address the elephant in the room. Obviously, with this type of relationship, we're combining two people with very similar astrology. Maybe they have the same sun sign, same moon sign, same other placements that are both in the sign of Aries. And there are different kind of pros and cons to dating someone or being with someone who has a very similar astrology to your own. Of course, it's going to be generally an easy dynamic because whenever you have two people with similar astrology, they're going to have similar needs, similar wants, similar ways of expressing their desires, going about their desires, similar communication styles. Whenever you have someone who is similar to yourself, it's just easier to maintain the relationship because there are less differences, there's less need for compromise, etc. And also, it's just refreshing. It's nice, coming home after a long day to be with someone really similar to you. It's just a very easy dynamic. It's easy to be yourself. It's easy to understand one another. So, very comfortable, very sustainable. That definitely helps this dynamic. However, it is interesting though that depending on the sign, certain signs mesh with themselves better than others, if that makes sense. And I think at first glance, we might expect Aries to really clash with itself because Aries is such a. There are exceptions, but generally speaking, Aries is going to be a really outgoing energy, really flashy, really fiery, really more on the extroverted side, generally speaking, of course, although there are exceptions. But what's interesting is that with two Aries, I think this actually works really well because Aries is competitive. Aries likes a chase, it likes a challenge. And I think, Aries, the energy of Aries is kind of unrivaled. It's unmatched by any of the other zodiac signs. So sometimes I think it takes an Aries to satisfy another Aries. Sometimes, both are going to have similar needs when it comes to both need a lot of stimulation, both need a lot of activity, both get bored very easily. So each one is going to be compatible in the sense that they're going to want to be traveling or trying new things, living a more kind of outgoing type of lifestyle. Both are ambitious, etc. They obviously have a lot in common. Another thing too is that Aries can be, I would say, one of the more offensive signs. Aries can definitely be, it can kind of unwittingly step on the toes of more sensitive signs like water signs, for example, which we'll talk about later. But with two Aries, you don't really have that issue as much. They're not really going to offend each other. Both can kind of put the other one in their place, so to speak. So they kind of both speak the same language. So all in all, if I kind of just step back from it and I have to rate it, I would say 4 out of 5 stars for this one. The only downside is that, and this applies to really any time that you have two signs kind of dating each other, dating itself, two people of the same sign. The only downside is that when you have so much in common, it's not going to be as interesting or exciting. Yes, this would be exciting in the sense that you have two very active people that want adventure and two people that are outgoing. They like trying new things. Yes, that is kind of dramatic and active and lively in that sense. However, because both people are going to be very similar, they're not really learning as much. The dynamic isn't as complementary. So that's kind of the only reason why I don't give this dynamic 5 stars, because ultimately, in a perfect world, I really like to see people having astrology that, there are some connections, there are some similarities that of common ground, but there's also enough difference for the dynamic to be complementary, and then that would add some edginess and passion as well. So my take is 4 out of 5 stars. I hope you enjoyed this. I look forward to doing many more zodiac sign compatibility matches as well. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.